ruling parties which have the experience and capability to give India what it needs most at this time.
1998 के रिजल्ट्स में कांग्रेस के फीमेल और मुस्लिम वोट्स में इजाफा देखने को मिलता है, जिसका क्रेडिट सोनिया गांधी को दिया जा रहा था। हालांकि इस इलेक्शन में पिछले इलेक्शन के मुकाबले कांग्रेस की सिर्फ एक सीट ज्यादा आती है, लेकिन कांग्रेस कार्यकर्ताओं का मोरल काफी ज्यादा हाई हो जाता है। कांग्रेस लीडर और कार्यकर्ता चाहते
Click close, knowing that I have the correct permissions, and I'm going to go to where it says data loss prevention. I'll click on policies, and now I see here that there was already one policy that was created. So I'll click on that, and this is a PCI data security policy. So what this does is this is for any company that holds on to credit card information after the user runs their card, for example. Most small businesses don't do this. What they do is they run it through a service that holds on to that information for them. But if you have a larger business that does hold on to the credit card information, you need to be what's called PCI compliant. So what happens is it goes into these different locations such as Exchange Email, SharePoint, and OneDrive, and it keeps certain types of information such as a user's address and other information from getting out to the internet. And it protects your customers and it protects your business. So I'm going to click on create a policy, and we're going to see policies that have already been created for different markets. For instance, we have the financial market, and we don't just see one country, we see the financial rules for multiple different countries. Same thing for medical and health. For the US, we see HIPAA compliance, but we see different types of compliances for different countries. And then there's also privacy policies. And we can also create a custom policy, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'll choose custom and click the country or region. I can choose the US, and we'll choose specific templates if we'd like to search. And I'll type in financial. And click next. As you see, this helps detect the presence of certain common information you don't want to get out. You can change the name if you'd like, and you can choose which type of application you'd like to apply this to. So in this case, it's applying it to all Microsoft 365 applications. Here we can see it's going to review and customize default settings such as a credit card number, US bank account number, routing number, or we can create custom advanced rules as well. Just for demonstration purposes, I'll go with the default. And here we have the ability to edit it as well. And there's lots of information to take into account. The first one is when a content policy matches, what's going to happen? So for instance, if an email goes out with information that should be blocked, the first thing that's going to happen is a tip is going to appear to the user saying, you're trying to send information that shouldn't be sent. We can customize that tip information here if we click this link. The next is when we want to detect a specific amount of sensitive information that's being shared at any one time. And by default, we see at least 10 of these types of emails. I'm going to change that to 1, just so we can, for demonstration purposes, get this to send out an alert right away. Then we have the option for sending incident reports in email. And we can choose what to include in the report and who receives it. So we see by default, all these items are checked, such as the name of the person, the types of information, things like that. It's going to send notifications to the site admin by default, which is me, so I should receive an email. But you can click on Add Remove as well if you'd like. I'm going to save that and continue down the list. We have the send alerts if any of the DLP rules match. By default, you and any global admins will automatically be alerted. You can customize the alert configuration if you'd like. Sending an alert every time is what I want, so I want to make sure that that happens. And you can choose to restrict access or encrypt the content of the Microsoft 365 locations for additional security if you'd like. I'm not going to need that, so I'll click Next. Here we can once again restrict access. We can also choose to audit or restrict activities on devices. So if we see this happen to a particular user, we can say audit only, we can choose block, we can choose block with override. An override would be when a user has a specific message that says, here's the reason why I need to be able to send this information out. I'm going to just choose to block, for instance, and we can just block on all of them if you'd like, or you can choose audit or however you'd like to do it. We can also choose to restrict third-party apps to the user and restrict access or remove on-premises files. Click Next. Now we can test it out first, turn it on right away or keep it off. I always recommend that you test it out. You don't want to turn it on right away until you know that it's going to work right, or you may get a lot of phone calls from people when they try to send off emails. Here's where we can go in and edit any of the policy setup that we just did by clicking the edit links on each of these different categories. I'm going to click Submit. And the policy has now been created. I'll click Done. And now we can see if there's been any alerts. Besides alerts, we also see endpoint. DLP settings. So if it finds any files with specific information, such as a routing number or anything else that should be blocked, then you will also scan that information as well. But you can choose exclusions for Windows and Macintosh, so it won't actually look through those particular locations. You can also choose to unallow specific applications, Bluetooth apps, and other information. Now I'm in my email, and unfortunately it takes almost an hour for a DLP policy to start working. So I'm showing you DLP policies that have been triggered in the past. We can see that it sent an email alert to my inbox, and we can see the Office 365 alerts. We can see the information such as the DLP policy matched for a specific email, the